Dick was born and raised in the densely French-populated main city of Lewiston. He followed many other Franco-American grads from Lewiston High School north to a comfortable and welcoming institution. What kind of institution, I'm not really at liberty to say, I don't think tonight. Seriously, he came to attend the University of Maine at Fort Kent and graduated from its education college in 1976. He began his career teaching in Van Buren District High School and ended it at Fort Kent Community High School. At both places he taught upper-level English classes. He ended his tenure at the senior level as a teacher, coach, and advisor, and says that he had a blast doing it all. Dick spends a great deal of his retirement in his extensive library. In his comfortable home, he does, however, very much enjoy the outdoors and loves to explore the wilderness through fishing and hunting and camping. He also likes to keep himself abreast of the most current events in our country, our world, and as you will see tonight, even beyond. Space travel, AI, our solar system, the universe. What would it mean to us if we found life out there? We've all just read or have heard about or seen the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey, and Dick Portman.
Thank you, Dawn. We have to take what Dawn says with a grain of salt. We have been friends for 52 years. And his wife and my wife have been friends for the same amount of time. So. And he's right, I did come here from Lewiston. I wasn't going to come to college, I was going to work. And that got old. And so I took out a map and I said, how far away from home can I go and still stay in the state of Maine? And here I've stayed. And Dawn said, I did my teaching career from St. Francis to Van Buren to here, and had a blast. I really did have a blast. I don't think I had a bad kid all the time I was teaching. It was a lot of fun. So, that being said, I have a couple of apologies to make, I think, and an explanation. One, this is so reminiscent of what I used to do. Look at this. I used to run around the classroom. I'd run up and down the aisles. I'd stand over people and hover and have conversations. But an artificial hip and a stodgy knee tells me that I shouldn't do that anymore. So I'm going to stay up here. The other thing is I'm a book nut. I really am. I brought books tonight. I have technology here. We've used technology here tonight. And that's all because of my wife. I'm looking for a book. Where is it? The pictures and the music were all done by her. I just read the book. So I have to go with that. One of the very first things in our book, our author presents to us one of his first basic questions. He says in our book that we have been visited by life from outer space. Since we're going to space, and since he tells us in our book that we have been visited, I thought it might be, and I've always maintained, if you want to know what an author is actually trying to tell you, you should know something about him, and you should know something about the milieu that he's talking about, and you should know something about the time that he lived. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go, but we'll also talk about all those questions. And the first question that he raises is we have been visited. Well, let's talk about that. How is that possible? We have determined, and again, excuse me, I use the term we. I had nothing to do with it. I just read the stuff. astrologers and astrophysicists have determined that the universe as we know it is, give or take, about 8 billion light years in diameter. Whoa. Those numbers are hard for us to understand. I mean, we understand thousands and billions maybe, but billions? Billion light years? What's a light year? A light year is how fast light travels in 1 year. To determine that, you would have to multiply. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second. Multiply that by how many seconds in a year, and that's how far light travels in 1 year. You don't have to do the math, I did it for you. 6 trillion miles. Multiply that by 800 billion. 8 billion. Are you serious? To put that in better perspective for us, if you've noticed, if you've looked at the recent news, we just re-established contact with Voyager 1. Anybody? Voyager 1? Voyager 1 were satellites that we sent up in 1975. It's their 50th anniversary today, this year. They've been traveling at about 45,000 miles an hour. It's the fastest things we've ever put up there. They are now outside of our solar system. For the first time, mankind has left our solar system. There they are. They're about 13 to 14 billion miles away. It took them 50 years to get there. 50 years to get there. The universe is huge. It's massive. We want to go to Mars. Oh, Mars, as far as we can tell, is going to take about a year to get there, maybe 10 to 11 months to get there. Everything on the way is going to kill us. Everything. We don't know how to do it right now. We don't have a spaceship. We don't have a rocket that will get us there. We're trying to develop it right now. We don't have one. So when we talk about outer space and traveling and getting there, it takes some thought on what's the best way to do it? Suspended animation? Can we put people to sleep for extended periods of time? Well, we can do it to a frog. We haven't been able to do it to us. How else can we go? Can we go? Incredible difference between sending a human being and a machine into outer space. Should we just send machines? Do we need to leave this planet? These are other questions that we have to ask. Do we need to leave this planet? Yes, we do. If we are going to survive as a species, we need to leave this planet. Eventually, this planet is going to be part of the sun, our sun. So we do have to find another place. Where are we going to go? We'll talk about that a little bit later. We want to go to Mars. We talked about that. Mars. Right now, the worst things we can do to this planet still make it the best place for us to live.
Take care of it.
You would think. Living on Mars, right now we cannot do it. Everything on Mars wants to kill us. Our book starts with an object that's been placed here on our planet by an alien civilization. Do we buy that? Do we think that can happen?
Anything's possible, I guess.
Anything is possible, and yes, we can certainly. A couple of, maybe last year, an object from outside of the solar system came through our solar system, and the science world went bananas. It was this cigar-shaped thing that came through our solar system, And as we studied it and studied it and studied it, as it was going through our solar system, some scientists, it was speeding up. Well, how can that happen? And again, are we being visited? Have we been looked at by other species in our universe? Our author says it's certainly a possibility. Our author, let's look at, where is he? Is he familiar? Is this face familiar? Think about it.
As a young man, no less.
One of the things that I was going to say when I first got here, it's a little sad for me. We're going to talk about guys that were my personal heroes as I was growing up. And lately, just last week, one of my other personal heroes just died. Dickie Betts.
Oh, yeah.
Dickie Betts just died, and he was one of the founding members of the Allman Brothers. But what we're going to talk about is Arthur C. Clarke and that's my book. What did I do? This book? No, not that one. I'm sorry. This guy. We're going to talk about him. You familiar? No. Oh, sorry.
Say again.
Carl Sagan. Another one of my very personal. He was growing up. He was the man, and he is also instrumental in the Voyager satellites that we just talked about. He was on the ground floor of building them. He also was in charge of the record that he put on these two satellites. They're gold records that have hello in every single language on the planet and directions on how to get here. Many people have said, really, should we have done that? Should we have told other, you want to come here? And we'll talk about that too in a minute. Carl Sagan deals in this book, it's called Contact, and I had a class list, a book list for you, and I'll try and email it to you guys. I forgot it at home. This is one of the books that talks about the question of what would happen here on Earth when we decided we had discovered life outside of us. And what would happen here? How would people react? How would religious people react? How would scientists react? How would we handle the fact that, oh my God, there's someone else out there besides us? This book talks about that, and I'm going to get these around, pass them around, check them out. We have been talking about this kind of stuff that Carl Sagan is going to talk about in his book for a long, long time. Some people suggest that science fiction has gone back as far as Homer. I don't go back that far. I go back to Jules Verne's maybe, and we'll talk about him in a second. This is a book of science fiction stories, and if you look in the back, there is a list of people who have written these science fiction stories, and check out the names on this list of people who have written science fiction and think it's important to do so. We have been talking about outer space. We've been talking about leaving this planet, and for whatever reason, and not for whatever reason, when we look at outer space, one of the first things that hits us in our solar system is Mars. And again, we've talked about that. We'll talk about more about it in a minute. Mars has been for us in our mythology and everything that has to do with us. Mars has always been there. And we have almost always thought there was life there. For the longest time, we always just figured there's another world out there and it must have life just like us. And authors took advantage of that and started writing all kinds of stories about Mars. Edgar Rice Burroughs, is that name familiar? Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote incredible stories about Mars. and were eaten alive on this planet. Everybody couldn't get enough of Edgar Rice Burroughs and his stories. And eventually they die out, but fortunately for him, and fortunately for us, he had another venue. Anybody know what else Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote about besides Mars?
Tarzan.
Tarzan. Edgar Rice Burroughs is the guy who invented Tarzan. And Johnny Weissmuller, who was an Olympic swimmer, at about this, when they started to do these movies, he was the guy that they chose to play him, and for years, I think he made at least 20 Tarzan movies. And this is the book that Edgar Rice Burroughs, there's 4 of his novels in here. You want to take a look at them. When we talk about Voyager, and we talk about where it is, how it got there, and what its purpose were, again, I recommend, it needs to be on the book list. This is Murmurs from Earth, written by Carl Sagan. And this is Life on Mars, as we might look at it as a place to live. When we talk science fiction writers, and we're going to under Clark, they have been throughout, how can I say this? For the longest time, science fiction writers have held our imaginations in the palm of their hand. The first big one that Jules Verne is considered the father of science fiction. When he wrote 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, there was no such thing as a submarine. None. Does anybody know who invented scuba diving? Scuba equipment. He used to have a show on TV. Yes! Jacques Cousteau. Jacques Benet. Well, Jacques has to take second place to Jules Verne, because on Jules Verne's submarine, we go scuba walking at the bottom of the ocean, and he has breathable air and everything. His submarine is powered by a mysterious energy. A lot of people say it was nuclear power. He never says, he just says it's an energy. And it powers his submarine. Incredible stuff. Here are 2 of his, 1,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and this one more concerned with us, is To the Moon and Back. And he has his astronauts leave Earth in a giant cannon with a mysterious power, and we fire that off to the moon. But what's cute about, I don't know about cute, but he has them leave from Cape Canaveral. Now this is a French author.
Really?
And he has them leaving from Cape Canaveral. He doesn't call it Cape Canaveral, but he calls it Florida. These guys were, science fiction writers are just something that we have to keep our eye on all the time. They have produced stuff for us that have eventually come true. Arthur C. Clarke, our author. He was born 1917, he died in 2008. And in between that, his life is just full of all kinds of stuff. Born to poor parents, he couldn't go to college. World War II comes along. He ends up in the service, he ends up in the Air Force, and he's on the ground floor developing radar. Radar. That's what saved England, World War II. He was also on the ground floor, and it was his idea, telecommunications. How to talk around the world using satellites. So he's more than just a science fiction writer. Some of the stuff, and here are some of his books. These are the book that we read, 2001. When he first, the movie came out before the book. When he got together with Kubrick, he made it a point. He told him, he says, I want the movie to come out before the book. And Arthur C. Clarke went, okay, what do I do? And that's exactly what they did. And these are, when he finally wrote the book, when he finally got around to writing the book after the movie, and he made no bones about it. He said in a number of places, I'll never write a sequel. Here are three of them. And you can take a look at them. If you're interested, if you liked 2001, here are the other three. And they're all pretty awesome, actually, in their own right. If you're also interested, his other massive series is these four books. It's Rendezvous with Rama, where an alien spaceship comes into our solar system and just kind of parks there, and we go into it looking for certain things and discovering certain things. And I don't want to get too far into it because this isn't the book that we're reading, but these are the books, if anybody is interested in continuing with Clarke. These books will hold your attention for sure. These three books are other C. Clarke books that you can look at on your own. In 1984, he writes Spring, A Choice of Futures. Why 1984?
Orwell?
Because of George Orwell. Very good. George Orwell wrote 1984, and he writes this in 1984 about the choices of humankind. And also a very good book that you should be looking at.
Dick, what was the first book in that other series you just mentioned?
Rendezvous with Rama.
Thank you.
And there's four of them, and they're excellent. They're very, very good. Arthur C. Clarke is a very good writer, very, very good writer. Some science fiction stories are not. Arthur C. Clarke happens to be a very good writer, along with a very good storyteller. Did we like 1984? Did we like 2001?
Oh, yeah.
It's written. It's not a deep novel. It's not psychological. It's really pretty straightforward, but it reads real easy and it flows very well. Did anybody watch the movie?
Yes.
Both.
Oh, yeah.
Both. Did you see the differences?
Yes.
The book is better.
Oh God, yes. Yes, I've always maintained that. So, okay. Let's see. Sorry, I had to say. The first big question that comes up in our story is that we are visited by beings outside of our world, outside of our solar system. What would happen if that actually did happen here on Earth? How would we react?
I'll do some fear.
We would be afraid, with good reason.
Fear of the unknown.
Fear of the unknown, exactly.
Fear of the unknown is certainly one of the things. Let's take a look at us. We are a curious species. There is no doubt about that. We want to know things. We want to go places. We want to do stuff. Unfortunately, every time we do, it doesn't always turn out to be very good. If you just look at the expansion of human beings from one place to the other, every time they come somewhere, every time they visit somewhere that they haven't been before, our record isn't very good. People die, environments get destroyed, and it hasn't been always a great thing. Well, now let's put that in the perspective of a visitor from outside of our planet. What would they be like? What would they do? If they are capable of coming here, are they superior?
Possible.
Yes.
You'd have to think so, because right now we can barely get to Mars. If they can come here, they would most probably be superior. What would they do?
Control us.
What if they wanted the resources on this planet?
Destroy us.
Would they? When we step on insects, do we lose sleep? Oh, man! They could think of us the same way. And what would happen? I don't think there's much of a chance of that. When we look around our own solar system, we discover that a lot of the moons and the planets that are out there that are not inhabited have all kinds of minerals and all kinds of things that another species might find valuable. They wouldn't have to come here to get ours. They could go somewhere where there's nobody and take anything they want and everything they want. So maybe we don't go down that road. But in Carl Sagan's book, Contact, when it becomes known that we have had visitors from outer space, the planet goes crazy. In our book, what happened? It doesn't happen because
Kept it a secret?
they kept it a secret. Why did they keep it a secret? For the same reason, for the very reason, things that we're talking about right now. They do not know how the world will accept the fact that there could be life out there, and it's actually visiting us. Our visitors did what?
They planted a listening device.
I don't know, a device for sure. The first one that appears to Moonwalker is, it doesn't speak, it doesn't do anything, it just sits there. It apparently gives our ancient ancestors ideas and allows their brains to make the leap onto developing weapons and conquering fire and eventually our greatest development, a language. And then it disappears, goes away. We don't find another obelisk like it until thousands and thousands of years later, buried on the moon. And what was that time?
What was that, what?
What was it on the moon?
It was magnetic, because that's how they found it.
They found it because it had a magnetic field. But when they uncovered it and it was exposed to the sun,
Yeah, there was a ringing sound. And,
it sent a message somewhere.
yes.
Now, in our book, the message is that it goes to Saturn, it goes to a moon on Saturn. In the movie, it goes to Jupiter. Jupiter, come on. And when I was reading about Kubrick just said it makes for a better story if it just goes to Jupiter. I don't know why, but apparently that's what he wanted. So to Jupiter they go in the movie. In the book we're going to Saturn, which extends our book. When Hal goes nuts, we finally turn him off. Our astronaut in our spaceship has to spend the next 2 years all by himself, which is another aspect of space travel. Right now in the deserts of Arizona, anybody know what's going on? We have built a couple of modules in Arizona, in the deserts of Arizona, and we have peopled them. And we're going to keep them there for 6 months all by themselves. And we're going to study what happens to them. Whoa.
You mean they're like in isolation?
I didn't hear you?
Are they in isolation?
Yes. They're just going to be monitored. They're on their own. When they come out, they have to go in spacesuits. They have to dig in the dirt, in the desert, to see what they can do, how they can perform certain everyday life.
When they come out, they're probably going to have to be institutionalized because they're going to be crazy.
And that's exactly what they want to find out. Who can we send? If we go to Mars, it's going to take at least a year. Now, let's say our capsule is this big. And let's put 5 of you in here for a year. what's going to happen. Then once we get to Mars, I suppose we should just talk about Mars right now. Mars seems to be the best place we can go to, for now. Everything on Mars wants to kill us. Everything. You can't use the dirt. It's infected, it will kill you. There is no air, it will kill you. The cosmic rays, because there is no magnetic field, will kill you. So you can't grow food, you have no water, and you can't go outside even in your spacesuit without it killing you. And that's the place we want to go to. This is where we want to go. And as I said before, the worst things we can do to this planet is nothing compared to what's waiting for us out in the solar system. One of the things they've said lately, scientists have said lately, that within the next 15 years we want to put human beings on Mars. And to me, that's crazy. The first thing we should do is go where? The moon. Thank you very much. 90 to 95% of the weight of a spaceship taking off from our planet, 95% of its weight is the fuel. It's the fuel. We have just discovered on the moon
Some water?
water. We've just discovered frozen water on the moon. If it's there, it's our breathing and it's our fuel. When you distill water, not distill, but when you demolecularize water, you get hydrogen and oxygen. An incredible fuel. So we can build our ships there cheaper, and we can take off from there cheaper. We can go further because we use incredible what we can do there. In our book, what's it like on the moon? There's a massive colony there. There are people living there. But if you did notice, where were they?
Inside the environment.
They were underground.
They were where?
Underground.
Okay.
When the spaceship lands, it just keeps going underground. And that is one possibility. We have discovered on both the moon and on Mars, they both have volcanoes, and there are volcano tubes, and we can get into those, and we can build a society in those, but they're not necessarily where we want them to be. It's a volcano. They didn't take us in mind when they erupted. But we can go there and we can live in there. We can also build environments on both places. We can send machines to build environments before human beings get there. Can we do that now? No. It's in the planning stages. They want to use AI, which we're going to talk about in a second, and they want to use, what is it? I forget now. It's a machine that builds stuff.
Robots.
No. Printers? 3D printers?
3D printers. We can bring those to Mars, and they can literally build out from the materials that are on Mars. We can build our environment right there. But still, the cosmic rays. What do we do with those? The only thing that we find out the only thing we have discovered that stops cosmic rays from killing us is water. Traveling water to Mars is going to be just sorry, can't do it. It weighs way too much. We think we have discovered water on Mars. We think on the south pole of Mars we have discovered a massive frozen lake in the rocks, but it's there. If it's there and it's true, it's going to be the first step that we'll need to live there. In our book, Arthur C. Clarke says these beings have come here, and that message that went from the moon to Saturn, he assumes is what?
They're awake.
these monoliths were put here, supposedly in our book, to just monitor us. And if we ever developed enough to discover the one on the moon, that meant we were developed enough to space travel. If we can travel in space, then we become either an enemy or a friend. And they wanted to know which. They wanted to know that we were capable of it. What they think of us, we don't know, and he doesn't tell us in our book. So, do we? Let's try. Let's try. Is there life in the universe besides us? No.
How do you define life?
Anything microscopic? An amoeba.
I'll say yes.
Being so big, you would think there would be.
You.
If not, it's an awful waste of space.
Carl Sagan said that. Carl Sagan said if we're alone in this vast universe, it's an incredible waste of space. Get it? Waste of space. If we go to another planet that has life on it, should we stay? What if we go to Mars and we find it has microscopic life?
I don't think that can be answered until you go there and find out what it involves.
Okay, well, and that's definitely legitimate, but let's say we go there and we find life. Do we stay?
If we find life, then we're going to be guessed
If we can coexist.
from them to them. It all depends how we are received. A while ago you said, what happens if somebody comes here? If you think of us on Earth, what are we doing? We're trying to go somewhere, not to destroy stuff, to explore. They're all exploratory missions. So if somebody comes here, you would think they're not going to like crush us like bugs at first. They're going to come in here and examine us and watch us and see what's going on. I would think.
Yes, yes. What happened when we came here to North America?
Wiped out the native population by about 10 million.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and sometimes not even,
And not purposely.
Right.
Right.
just the diseases that we brought with us killed thousands and thousands of people. If we go to another planet and there's life there, what would happen to them? What would happen to us? Our bodies couldn't stand an alien amoeba. It would kill us. Our own germs, pesticides, whatever we carry in our bodies, would we deliver them to other planets and stymie the life that was going on there already? What kind of legacy is that?
We're definitely dropping our garbage.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we would want to dominate, because that's the human race.
Seems like that's the way. See what just happened in Florida?
Yeah.
Old guy's house. Space junk fell through this guy's house.
Really?
Are you kidding? Whoa! And this is us. We to the point. The space station up there has to, every so often, the astronauts have to get into their spaceship, because it could be that space junk is about to hit it and explode the damn thing. We're messy.
Well, the thing that you have with it is that life competes with itself. That's what happens, and that's how you get change and stuff. So when you ask the question on whether or not we should go there and try to replace the life, or even just visit there and have that life destroyed because of our visit, I think that happens anyway. If there is life out there, then it is.
So it's inevitable.
Itself.
You're saying it's inevitable. We're going to go, we have to go, and once we get there, someone's going to die. What the heck?
Yes and no. I just think that there's.
It's a question that we're going to be dealing with, and we're going to have to deal with if we want to go somewhere. We do not have a good track record. We really don't. AI. Hal. Do we like Hal?
To a point.
To a point. We We have, this book was, Clark wrote the short story that turned into the movie and this book in 1948. 1948. And in 1948, and this is what I love about science fiction writers. In 1948, he presented an idea that, and I forgot to bring it in, I'm sorry. Does anybody know how we got to the moon the first time? Or into outer space? Did we have computers? No, they didn't exist. We got to the moon, we got to outer space with a slide rule. And I had my grandfather's slide rule, and I was going to bring, and my own, because when I was in school, the slide rules were the thing. And I was going to show you, I was going to ask if anybody know what these are.
We live by them.
So now today, the slide rule is gone, and we have computers. We have just recently come to the realization, at least right now, and the camp has pros and cons on both sides. Machines that can think. Good thing? Bad thing?
Scary.
Scary thing? I think so too.
Just like how, as long as it's used for the right reason.
Used for the right reason. There are people that are saying that AI is going to be the next, even a bigger explosion than computers were, and they cite medical, they cite all kinds of things that we're going to be able to do with AI, and yet, we build a machine that can think for itself. What if it decides that it thinks we suck?
Like the Terminator was.
Yeah, I didn't want to go there because I don't like the Terminator movies.
Could I ask your opinion of Hal, because to me, Hal made his decisions to kill the crew based on ethics.
Definitely.
But then, murder is probably the dark side of the downside of the ethics. But originally, we're keeping this. He's trying to keep the secret, right? So I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on that.
And
Now, the ethics you learn from the human race, right?
also true.
Yeah.
Also true. Everything that's in Hal
Point.
comes from us. In our book, it's not really developed. In 2010, whoever has that book, it goes into more of a detail about Hal.
Okay.
Hal is asked to keep a secret. He's lied to and asked to keep a secret. And it blows him away. He can't deal with it. And his solution to that, I don't know if we call it a he or an it. Its solution is to eliminate anything that's going to stand in the way of the mission. And since they weren't read into the mission, sorry, you have to go. And he kills everybody.
Oh, he was also protecting his own survival because they were going to pull the plug on him.
He has gone
Survival.
off the deep end before that. He only finds out that when the two guys are talking about it. The two astronauts had already noticed something was wrong with him before this.
Some false failure.
All of those things are all pointing to there's something wrong here. And they can't understand it because Hal is supposed to be perfect. Can we build a perfect machine? Well, machines are built by human beings, and I'm sorry, I haven't met a perfect human being yet. I try, but... do we want computers to run our life?
They are right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're late.
If we should have...
You're late, 20 years.
Well, actually, when I started teaching, computers were coming into the classroom. Now, they were here around before that.
That's 40 years then.
Yeah, right. How... I don't know how you would deal with a computer. Do we know who Big Blue is?
At IBM.
the IBM machine, and for the longest time, it couldn't do what? It could not beat Kasparov, who was the world champion chess player. And that was just maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Today, doesn't stand a chance. No human stands a chance against a computer today. That's a little bit of how far they've come. They've come even further. We don't even know the ins and outs of computer technology today. Most, certainly not me, some of you may, but not here.
The safeguards are gonna have to be just so incredibly.
But if you have a machine that thinks for itself, what kind of safeguards can you put on it?
Doesn't it come down to control?
Exactly. And how do you control? If it thinks for itself,
But you have
it
to
can
know-
find a way around it. Look at hackers today. Every time we come up with a way to prevent them from doing something, next week they come up with a way to get around you. If you build a computer with the same capabilities, oh, I know I hate those movies, the Terminator movies, but my goodness. If they decide that they can get along without us, would they? What would happen today if a solar flare, and they do occur, all of a sudden wiped out all of our satellites around our planet? And it could happen.
We'd be dead. We'd be stopped in our tracks.
Everything we do today has to do with computers. All of it. Our entire lives are connected to it. Our energy, our food, our water, everything. And if all of a sudden you lose that, Stone Age, immediately. Oh, these are the things that Clark is talking about. And how I guess the other problem, our 2 astronauts can't get help. It takes 40 minutes just to get an answer from home. And in that time, Hal can do whatever he wants. If we send a group of people out to Mars, 5 or 6 of them with their computers, and something goes wrong, what kind of help can they expect to get? None. 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 You're on your own. Again, who do we send up? You have to send a doctor.
But that's the risk of the mission, and the people who sign up understand that. You would think, you would hope.
Very true. When do we remember Apollo 13?
Yeah.
Anybody remember what they were in? What it was called?
Lynn?
They ended up in the LEM, but the whole thing was
Command.
called.
Oh,
And again, it has to do with us, with our. It was called the Odyssey.
Oh, yeah.
They were in
That's right.
a capsule called the Odyssey. When the canister exploded, when the oxygen tank exploded, do you remember what they said? What Grisham said? Houston,
we have
We have a problem.
we have a problem. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
In our book.
Yeah.
In our book. Oh, geez, I think we have a problem. What do we do with computers? I don't know. The answer is way beyond me. How we're going to deal with computers in the future? How much more can they deal with the human life as it is? I don't know. Other things that our author brought to light. Any questions, guys, that you guys saw in the book? Anything? Discussion?
The end was kind of like vague. Is it spiritual? Is it?
And he meant it
And he
on
meant it,
purpose.
I guess,
To
yeah.
be that way, to be ambiguous. And in our other books, he comes back. And if you want to read those. But in our book, he falls into that thing, that monolith, and has all of these experiences, and they are very strange.
Do you know what it made me think when I read that? It's almost like you'd have a house with a whole bunch of rooms. And the universe that we are in was in one room. And he ended up going through a door to another room.
Another one.
And then what is in that room? Then is it spiritual? Is it whatever? Is it another universe? You know, that whole begs the question of what is out there, I guess.
And it brings to question stuff that we're dealing with now. There are many theorists today that believe that we live in a multi-universe. That some that believe you go through a black hole, you end up in another universe. There are others believe that every time a black hole, our existence, we have a hard time with our existence. We don't know what happened just before the Big Bang, and we can't explain what happens inside of a black hole. When we go to those two places, our science, our math just disintegrates. We don't get it. And it's one of the biggest things in science, biggest thing in
And we're a curious bunch.
oh my God, we want to know. We just want to know. And our author is trying to explain that to us in his way when he has him fall into that monolith and goes through all of those experiences. I don't know how we're going to deal with that stuff in outer space. And like I said, we do have to go out. We do have to get out there.
Well, I think that's where a supercomputer with AI technology can help. We may not have the ability to do it, but if we have computing power that can figure it out.
So just send that.
That's one runner, to
Just send machines.
to study them. To study them.
And to study and to find out places, and that's probably what we might end up doing. Because we just, right now, sending a human being out there is going to be, well, but then, again, it comes back to, once, let's say AI, some computer, some satellite finds a place for us. Okay, cool. We're still going to have to, one, we'll have to go there. Two, we'll have to decide if there's life there or not, whether we can get along with that life or not, whether we should get along with that life or not. Right now, we may just stay in hopefully in our own solar system. If our sun expands to the whoa. Yes, the sun. If what was I talking about?
The sun expands.
If the sun expands, some of the moons around Saturn may be the places that we want to go to. We have found some that we think have underground oceans that may sustain life. We've found some that have volcanoes that spew water vapor. So water. There's another thing. Water. Where did our water come from? We haven't got a clue. That's one of the things that we're still dealing with. We don't know where the water from this planet comes from. We don't know where water comes from, period, in any of the places in our universe, in our solar system. At the beginning, when our planet formed, it was so hot, water could not exist. It just couldn't. So where did it come from? And we got a lot of it. Some people have begun telling you that meteor showers after the formation of our planet brought water to us. Well, it's possible, I guess, but my God, how many of them hit us? We got a couple of big oceans.
Yeah. Where did that water come from?
And where did that water? Well, they're saying that it was in the rocks, in the meteorites themselves, in the comets themselves. But we still see those, and they still fall. And the ones that we have collected, yes, they have a little bit of water, but certainly not enough to fill the Pacific. And never mind the Atlantic, the Indian, and the...
You said that a lot of these places would not sustain life. But are you limiting yourself to saying that life as we know it now?
Oh, yes.
Life has evolved even on Earth.
Oh, yes.
Compared, like you go back so many years and you get to now, the species evolves to fit the climate. So who knows, then maybe the species we could possibly evolve to live on Mars or any of these other
Oh, yes. I've got no problem with that. Except for one very big meteorite, the dinosaurs would still be here, and we wouldn't be. Yes, if life evolves, there's no doubt about that. But do we want to force evolution on some other planet? If it's got life on there, I have a real problem. If you haven't noticed, I have a real problem with us going to another place that has life already. I don't see how that's ethically again, if we have to move, we're gonna have to go somewhere.
Like the pilgrims.
Well, that's just it, we have to go somewhere.
Yes.
Because eventually we'll hit a flare.
Yes.
Eventually something is gonna happen.
Something's gonna make us move, yes.
Sun's good for that.
The sun, if it's not the sun, it's gonna be a solar flare. If it's not a solar flare, it's gonna be a meteorite. We have to be able to have the ability, if we want to survive as a species, we have to be able to get off this planet. No doubt about it. Our author is telling us that there's life out there, so that it's possible. We can go somewhere else. I'm not sure if,
Does the sun cover all the universe? Is there just one sun that covers all the whole universe? You know what I mean?
I don't think I understand.
Would go at Mars or
Do they all have the same
Have the
sun?
sunshine.
Yes. Not in the same intensity, but yes, the same sun. And as it got bigger, as it would get bigger, if we would go to Mars or a moon, it would be very, very feasible. We would have, but again, even after it expands, and if we go to another planet in our solar system or another moon in our solar system, it's only going to last for a few million years. And then it's going to shrink down to a white dwarf, and we're going to have to go again somewhere else. So, but in our own solar system, it's going to give us that head start, that jump start to go somewhere else. I think we have to. We're going to have to find a place in our solar system to go to. The closest, there again, and I failed to mention this when we first started, the closest system to us, Alpha Centauri. It's 4.5 light years away. So that's 4.5 light years away. 4.5 times 6 trillion miles. We've gone 15 billion miles so far, the furthest we've been, and it's taken us 50 years to get there. Right now, we just can't go anywhere. We just can't. We can't get to the nearest star. We have a hard time getting around in our own solar system. And so all of these things have to be developed sooner or later. We are, and I don't want to paint a doomsday picture, we are making progress. Today we are on the verge of having the ability, for the first time ever, human beings can deflect a meteor. We have that ability today. So if we actually see a meteor coming to our planet, we have the ability to divert it. That's incredible. That's incredible. But please, at the same time, we don't see them all. If it comes out of the sun, comes from behind the sun, we'll never see it, and we could be toast. But right now, we are developing ways to do that, and that is a major milestone. We are, we've said it a million times tonight, we are a curious being. We are a collection of atoms that understands it's a collection of atoms. My goodness. My goodness, that says a lot about us. It really does. Sometimes our track record isn't all that great, but we have made strides. We have the ability to do these things. But we went to the moon when? When was the last time? Yeah, it's been 1972, I think, was the last time we were there. And we never went back. And that was a massive mistake. After the Challenger, after the Challenger blew up, the space program in this country sort of went downhill, and we haven't had much. We haven't had too many milestones since then, and we are going to have to pick that up. We do have to go. Our book tells us that. How did you like the Odyssey, the spaceship? Could we fire that off from the planet? No. That thing was way too big. That was going nowhere from this planet. Obviously, in our book, we have a space station, a massive space station that goes around the planet. From the space station, we go to the moon, and another massive colony. And from there, we build our spaceships, we fuel our spaceships, and off to the stars we go. Questions, guys?
I thought the spaceship was on the moon. It's just in the air somewhere. The spaceship, yeah.
The Odyssey, in our story, it's in outer space. It's not on the moon. It came probably, it doesn't tell us in our story where it comes from. I'm just assuming because we had a space station and a colony on the moon, that it went for, it only makes sense. That is the only place we can go to build spaceships to go to the universe, because right now we can't do it from our planet. We don't have the technology. Guys, questions on anything? Anything in the book that you want to bring up?
I was just thinking that, just like the apes evolved, we're going to continue evolving ourselves, and maybe at some point we would be a better match for some, whatever is out there. Even though, I mean, it would certainly be
And
very drastic from what we are now.
yes, as we travel in outer space and as we live in outer space, will we develop certain physical traits that allow us to live easier in outer space? I hope that's true. I hope that's true. What happens to astronauts when they come back from the space station?
Yeah, muscle mass.
They can't walk. They can't even walk. They exercise all the time they're up there. They come back there, they can't walk. Most astronauts that spend over 2 weeks in outer space takes them about 1.5 years to recover here on the planet. And they never recover fully. Their brains shrink, their bones deteriorate. We just did a really cool study. We sent twin Scots. One went to the space station for 1 year, and his twin stayed on the planet for 1 year. And the differences between them are astounding.
Wow.
And he's having a lot of eye issues,
Yeah.
isn't he?
Yeah. And they think that's from cosmic rays. You don't know them, you don't feel them, you don't see them. They travel the speed of light, and they're incredibly small. They go right through you, and they destroy our DNA as it goes through us. And the mutations and the diseases that it's caused, we don't know the extent yet. But we're a curious race, and we're still up there. We don't care. We're going to go anyway, and we do actually have to. But yeah, space is not a fun place. It wants to kill us. Every time we go up, it wants to kill us. Anything else? Anything? I would like to do these more often. I'd like to do a different kind of book every.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I have in my life. I hope. Do I have all the books that I sent out?
I'm going to keep a couple.
Well, I wanted to tell you that not have a good time with them and look at them, but don't fondle them. They have to go back to my library, and I don't want them talking to my other books about what a good time they had. I want to have them to come out. So, guys, anything about the book? Guys, anything?
A couple weeks ago, I can't remember the channel, it was his anniversary I think it was the anniversary of the Odyssey, right? That he wrote the first book?
Yes.
And they had like a 3-hour special on him. I don't know if you saw it.
I did not.
Oh, it was just excellent,
Oh.
really. They went through his life, and then they went and they compared it to his book, and then they were just saying he was ahead of his time.
Oh my goodness, yes. Oh my goodness.
But they were saying, he was like a foreseer, and then they were saying and then Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan.
Yeah, Carl Sagan. That was his guru.
Yeah, yes.
And then what happened was, they're saying that out there's a lot of knowledge, but people don't dare to come out with it.
Yes.
Because they're scared. They're scared of the government, they're scared of the scientists, they're scared of these companies, NASA and all these private companies.
Yeah.
That's all infiltrated in all of this. It's called one word, money, and it's who's going to go there first.
Well, why are we going back to the moon? Right now there's a big interest in going back to the moon. Why?
To get
There's
to
several
Mars.
reasons why you want to go back.
Well, there are, but I mean, the reason right now that it's become a hot topic,
The Chinese?
the Chinese want to go there, the Indians want to go there,
Yeah.
they want to exploit it. We found water there, and there are other minerals there. Now all of a sudden it's becoming, money. We can go there for money, let's go there, and we have to be real careful. Is he familiar to anybody?
Looks like Governor Reed.
And again,
Like one of the astronauts, it looks like one of the astronauts.
well, close. Again, it is in my lifetime. I grew up, I remember when we got our first television set. This black and white thing, and my mother put it in front of the couch, but not in front of the couch. The television was there, the arm of the couch was there, and I'd lay down my head on the armrest, and I'd look at the TV, and I was this far away from the TV. And I was watching all of anything that had to do with space, I had to look at it. And the guy who, on television, the guy who did all of the space was Walter Cronkite.
Yeah.
And Walter Cronkite, Walter Cronkite, the most trusted man in the United States when I was alive. He was the guy. And he did, I remember him doing the first one that he did it from the back of a station wagon in Cape Canaveral with the old-fashioned headphones and the microphone, and he's oh, look at that, and I was just enthralled. And I watched all of them, and I always watched all of them. And then come the Apollo, the Apollo series of, and who's sitting next to Walter Cronkite through all of them, every single one of them.
Oh, sure.
This guy was
Was he a commentator or something?
He was the commentator. He was the science guy through all of these things. And I couldn't believe that there was Walter Cronkite and there was a physics guy I looked up walking the same. I couldn't get close enough to the television stuff. But it's true. Money has become one of the things that we have to be very careful about, and why we want to go to outer space. And it can't be the reason to go. It can be an offshoot, but it can't be the reason.
But that's what makes it possible.
Again, the yin and yang of everything. The sun is, without the sun we die. Too much of the sun we die. And it's the same thing with money. We have to be able to corral it and make it do what we want, not what it wants. And we have a hard time with that. We do have a hard time.
So instead of being a competition, if they would work in unison,
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
then
Wouldn't that be nice? China and India and the United States and Russia get together and go, hey,
Our species would have to evolve. We're not there yet.
I will try and get you the book list if you're interested. But other than that, if there's nothing else, guys, this was a blast. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, first of all, that you can see why Dick was one of the more popular teachers at the high school when he was there. He's quite passionate, and he's also a really gracious guy because he didn't forget his list home. He gave the list to me, and I forgot to get it run off. So that's the truth. So anyways, and what we will do is, most of you, we have your email addresses. If we don't have your email address, then we can't get this information to you. So if you want to leave that with us before you leave, we will get those run off and send them out to everybody on our list so that you can get those, everybody that's here tonight. And then I would just say, again, we've still got a few classes. I think we've got 5 classes left. The next one is on Thursday night, and that's the UMFK simulator, nursing simulator, or health simulator, I should say. That, again, should be a really interesting class. We then, following that one, it starts on the 30th of April, and it has 3 classes to it, and that's the books, birds, and building. And again, that's a kind of an interdisciplinary unit that involves the Fort Kent Middle School 8th graders, 40 of them. And so far we have 20 people, 20 senior college members signed up for that. And there's room for more if anybody wants to join in, but it's going to be a joint venture reading another book called A Man Called Ove, and many have already seen it or read it, the movie or read it. So, and they're reading that as 8th graders, and we're going to do some activities that are going to allow us to better understand each other and, again, get us to realize that 8th graders, 13-year-olds actually do have, a side to them that is very serious and compassionate and all those other things that we don't always notice. And they're going to find out that we're not a bunch of old crotchets that don't know anything, students. So hopefully we're going to learn from each other, and part of that is going to be building some birdhouses with the help of Neil Thompson from the university here. So there's going to be lots to learn and experiences to be had, so we hope you'll join us with that. We have an instructor for a class on May 7 with us tonight, Andrew Burden. And if you were interested in the AI piece of this class, he's doing another class on AI called Managing the Information Age. And this class will present participants the opportunity to receive an overview of artificial intelligence development and how one can use it in your own lives. So a practical approach to AI. And then we have a two-part class on the Holocaust with Erica Nadelhath coming up from the Maine Human Rights and Holocaust Center in Augusta. And she's going to be presenting a class on the Holocaust. She's going to do the first one, and then we're going to decide at that time. She's going to do that one live, and then she's coming up, she's on the following week, and it's up to us whether we'd like her to Zoom in or whether we'd like her to come back again. And that's not clear yet, but there's a second part to that. And a lot of that is going to probably deal with anti-Semitism, which is just a tremendous topic these days. And the last class of the semester is going to be on June 4, and that's going to be Hospice with Carrie Thibodeau. And she's going to be going over the services that Hospice provides, along with a couple other organizations. I think a Rustic Agency on Aging, I think, is going to do some presenting at that one as well on a couple of the topics. So that's what we got coming up. Hope to see you there. If you haven't signed up, go ahead, spread the word around, and thank you, Dick Fortman.